It's another 3 a.m. video, except actually, no, wait, it's 5 a.m. this time, you guys, and I have cookies. So, hey, let's be honest, this might be better. If you didn't watch yesterday's 3 a.m. video, good, I am glad for you. But today, since we're on a train of just random topics and kind of stupid ones, let's talk about Genshin Impact, and more specifically, let's talk about the community, because as we all know, I mean, who doesn't love the community of HoYoverse games? I fucking hate Kazuha as a character. I dislike the Traveler, both male and female. I dislike Paimon. I don't think Yelan's all that good. Don't get me wrong, she's strong, but I don't like her character in the slightest. Alhaitham is to this day one of my most hated characters. Baizhu looks like discount Orochimaru. Shenhe has a bland character that had so much potential and was all wasted. Nahida is legitimately one of the worst written characters in Genshin, and yes, I mean that. She's worse than Raiden to me. Raiden actually had a point. Raiden legitimately, if you paid attention to her story and her lore, had a better character arc and a better form of characterization. But nobody took the time to really discuss that because the blunt opinion and perception was Inazuma was bad, and as a result Raiden was bad. And no, she's probably one of the better written characters in the game. Just has terrible storytelling, but that's the entirety of Genshin, and Sumeru was the worst. Out of any of the Archon chapters and quests, Sumeru was the worst. You have the bland compliments of calling a character daddy or mommy, because, you know, we all have parental issues. You have the fact that the characterization is just going to be reduced down to, oh, they're hot and have a big chest, and therefore they must be good. If you're an individual who legitimately pays attention to story, I apologize to you, because good luck finding somebody else who actually wants or is knowledgeable on it. Like, don't get me wrong, I personally enjoy the lore of Genshin Impact quite a lot. But I know wholeheartedly that the community itself is rather iffy in terms of who's been paying attention to what, and whether or not someone studies the lore themselves or just takes what a content creator says and runs with it. Like, there's a 50-50 chance that if you have a large enough audience, you could say any individual thing you want about the lore of the game, and there's a very low chance that somebody will really try to correct you, and there's a very even lower chance that your audience will try to correct you. But there's a much higher chance of them just run with what you said as fact. But I digress. Today's topic is lolly. Yes, the word that and the concept that usually gets a lot of people in trouble, and more specifically, just gets a lot of people on Twitter angry because, hey, I mean, is it Twitter? Are we calling it Twitter now, or is it Xer? Is it Xing? What is the action verb we're using to describe somebody using X? Because Twitter had much. It made sense. You sent out a tweet on Twitter. It worked out. I don't know what am I supposed to do with X here? Regardless, I personally think that whether or not you enjoy lolly or hate it or whatever your opinions are, as long as you keep it to yourself, perfectly fine. Because at the end of the day, if you don't like it, you don't have to actively seek it. And that's my opinion on pretty much anything. It doesn't matter what somebody else likes or how you feel about them or what their opinion on stuff is. If you don't like it, you either don't have to listen to it, A, or B, don't have to comment on it. And if you choose to continuously associate with the individual, then you can't be mad at them when outright they blatantly made their interests clear. Like, if somebody is really into lolly and you hate it and you continue to hang out with them, but consistently and constantly always mention how you hate it, you're the problem there at that point. Because, like, it's not like they're what are they doing? Existing? Because there's a lot of personal responsibility in regards to that. Like, hey, you dislike it, just leave. Like, it's not that big of a deal, just go. But, you know, it's very difficult to get people just to say, you know what, I do realize that I could walk away and not just make an issue out of this. But hey, I prefer making issues. And I think this topic and conversation is further exacerbated by content creators and by individuals because, like, I'm being blunt here. A lot of individuals in my community come from Blue Archive and come from other gacha games, and I'm somebody who doesn't really care. As in, like what you like, it's not my problem. I don't have to like what you like, but I'm not going to bother you about it. And so when you're dealing with that and you're coming into Genshin Impact, it's a very different experience because the community has a very much this is right, this is wrong type attitude, and this extends to HSR. If you're like, oh yeah, I think Clara is really hot, or I think Diona is really hot, you are an awful person, regardless of context. And so I think it's much more difficult, and I think a lot of individuals legitimately have issues with discussing their opinions on characters because if you like a character like Fischl, for example, you're gonna have individuals throw her into the lolly category or into the adult category, and realistically, either way, someone's gonna think you're weird. And so I think a lot of people are just very avoidant of talking about characters they think are hot because the default safe bets are, oh, if you look at Yelan, she's tall and has a big chest, so therefore she's perfectly fine to simp for. If you're looking at Hu Tao though, even though she's owning a business, small chest, so technically it's iffy. And this creates a problem because you have individuals who don't want to express their affections for a character, don't feel comfortable talking about that character because they don't know the reaction they're gonna get, and it just leads to people shutting up. But I think the real issue could be solved by just people shutting the fuck up in general. Like, I think one of the big things is people associate lolly with the connotations of pedophilia, and neither one of them are interchangeable. You can be interested in one and not be part of the other group. You can be in one section, not over here. Like, there is a perfectly fine reasoning and logic to separate them because you can view fiction entirely different than you view reality. So it's unfair to say, oh, you like lolly, you must be into, individuals like this in real life. And it's like, no. But I think it's just a very easy target to go after. And it's very difficult to argue against that because realistically, how many individuals are going to take the time to listen to you after that accusation is made? So it's easier for people to just ignore it and not talk about it or just go all in. You either have to be outside and hate lolly or objectively enjoy it, because if you don't, you can't be in the middle. People won't accept you really being in the middle. Like, it's fine. You either go in and go all in or stay out and don't touch it. But that's kind of the Genshin community as a whole. You either are with or against it in a lot of scenarios. Oh, you don't think this character is good? Why? What's wrong with you? You don't think this character is hot? Why? What's wrong with you? You do? Oh, you must be pretty weird. Like, if you Google the ages of Genshin Impact characters, you're going to get like the first result comes up is someone guesstimating based on character designs of what they think, and half the community is basically run with this. And it's so weird because that's used to debunk or just argue people entirely based on who they choose to simp for. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I don't give a shit. You can like Diona, you can like Fischl, you can like, I don't know, Raiden. It's not my problem. I do not care. As long as you're not hurting anybody in real life, like whatever you want to like. It doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, there's this ancient art called minding your own goddamn business. And that is something I, really believe we should practice every day. But I just think it's very difficult for a lot of individuals and people to want to get into the Genshin community when they see a lot of negativity regarding it. And not necessarily regarding the community itself, but from the community. It's different when an outside perspective and an outsider says, oh, your game is trash and your community is bad, because they aren't a part of it. But when you're inside the community and you're like, this is awful, or you're inside the community and a part of the game and you're talking to somebody else like, hey, don't get into Genshin, it's pretty boring. That really defeats the purpose of trying to introduce a new player to the game. Because what you've likely done is made them have a much more negative outlook on it because of your negative perceptions. People take very quickly to the opinions of individuals who they believe to be knowledgeable or the opinions of individuals who have played the game much longer than them. If you have played the game longer and you actively hate it, the individuals who you speak to it about are going to actively begin to dislike it much earlier than you did because their opinion and their perception is now soured. If you say enjoy the early stages because those are the best stages ever, then they're going to not necessarily enjoy the early stages, but think about how little time they have left in relation to when things get bad. But even outside of this, I think one of the bigger issues is that in general, it's very difficult to have a differing or dissenting opinion in the communities of HoYoverse games. I don't know about Honkai Impact 3rd. I do know that HSR is kind of the same, but HSR is still in its hype wave right now where every new character is amazing and busted and broken and you need to pull for them and they're all wonderful except for the slightly shorter characters. Whereas Genshin is much older and the community theoretically should have aged up, but they didn't. So it's kind of stagnated. And it's made into a very iffy situation to where either you say fuck it and not give a shit about what other people think, which is the best way to go about it, or you completely shift gears and match the vibe of the community and base your opinions around what people like and what people don't like. And that's probably better for the overall perception people have of you, but it's probably worse for your enjoyment of the game. So I want to hear your opinions down below. Tell me your thoughts about characters you like, about the story of the game, about things you like and that people don't, or the things you legitimately hate that people seem to like. I honestly want to hear your thoughts because at the end of the day, if a lot of people aren't willing to, hey, I am, or we are, because no one should care. And you should be allowed to just say, hey, I want to fuck this character. And nobody should be able to look at you and say, my God, you're a weirdo. Bitch, you've never met me. Shut the fuck up. Go back to your hole and go to sleep. But hey, my videos are nonsensical. Most individuals are going to chalk me up to just being a weirdo, which is perfectly fine. I don't mind, and neither should you. Regardless, I'll see you next time. I don't know what this video is about. I don't even know what the thumbnail and title will be. But hey, I wish you the best of luck, and thank you for clicking on it if you did, and even if you sat this far.